RDTDaily.com presents a Tarabuster with comedian Tara Devlin.
All right. What's up? How we doing? This is Tara Devlin, unapologetic liberal talk. Let me fix the mic. How are we doing? Let me look around. Where did Boudica go? She took off. All right, guys, this is Tara Devlin, unapologetic liberal talk on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Thank you for hanging out. We meet here every Friday evening at 8:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I decided to take the number off the show. You know, who cares? I'm just going to call it Tarabuster Fridays and then Tarabuster Weekday. Okay? It would make it easier on myself. Trying to move the mic a little bit. All right. If you can, please become a patron at patreon.com/Tara Devlin. Also, check out Charlie's APS Radio News site. I haven't heard from Charlie in a while. I hope he's doing all right. Thinking of you, Charlie. Sending you all the love and light that I can muster in this for you. I mean, we can muster a lot. So send Charlie your love, guys. All right. What else? I don't know. Yeah, check out the Tara Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Political Voices Network. And keep coming back. It works if you work it, so work it, you're worth it, and live it. Like and subscribe, share, do all those things. Share the show if you can. You know, if you don't have to support the show financially, although that's good. But you can also share it with your friends. I don't know. Everybody has to say these things, and God, I hate doing it. I'm also writing over at the Political Voices Substack, in case you missed it, but we might get into it because I wrote something yesterday. I posted it yesterday about, because it was, well, actually I was wrong by a day. I thought I had the date wrong. I thought it was the 9th. I thought yesterday was the 9th. It was the 10th, clearly, because today's the 11th. And it was the 9th when Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox. I wrote an article about it over at the Political Voices Substack, and how it is another example, and we've talked about it on this show before, how that the fact that, I mean, what should have happened at the end of the Civil War was Grant slapped handcuffs on Lee and dragged his ass to Leavenworth. But what happened was that he let him go just with the promise to sin no more. But this was a long line of examples in American history, or one of the many examples of good people, of decent people. And Grant, he was a man of his time, but he was also a progressive who abhorred slavery and had many progressive ideals, and was a champion of these ideals. But he, a lot of progressives thought that we needed to forgive and forget to facilitate some kind of healing. And along the line, in our short 250-year history, there have been many examples of compromising with the effing, with conservatives. So that's why we're here. And when Grant let Lee just ride off into the sunset back to the South, he basically put a down payment on the next insurrection of these conservatives. And he also made it, in all his progressive abolitionist ideals, he set our fellow Americans up to be the victims of 100 years of domestic terrorism. So, and more. All right. Well, that's basically the summary of the article, but I will read more about it. I'll talk to you about it. We'll talk about it. because the other things are going on. One of the things that, yeah, there's no mods in here. What the fuck? Where's Jim? Where's my Jim? I swear, I worry about Jim. He's always here, so if he's not here, there's got to be a reason. There he is! There he is! There's Jim. Nice to see you, Jim. I was really getting worried there, because I don't think Jim has ever missed a show. And also, he's doing double duty now over at the Tara show with myself and Tara Dublin, Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Political Voices Network. Okay, that's enough of the frickin' plugs, right? All right, where do we start? It's embarrassing. I see JD in the chat. Nice to see you, JD. JD lives in a civilized country. And all I can say is don't let this happen to you. Look at what we're dealing with. It gets ever more shocking by the day, frankly, because each time I see that another law firm, for example, has capitulated, I'm stunned, because, all that had to happen to mitigate the disaster of this baboon rampaging over Earth is for the Republicans and for the powerful in this country not to acquiesce, not to obey in advance. That's all they had to do. I mean, if these well-heeled, deep-pocketed law firms are capitulating in advance to this criminal, this crook, lifelong con man, and you guys know it. It's a damn disgrace. A coup-engaged traitor. What chance do the rest of us have? We're living, paycheck to paycheck. We're living on the wrong side of Reaganomics. We're the ones who have to feel the pinch of all of the chaos that this freak, this unfit malignancy is causing. So on the cover of the Huffington Post, let's see if it's still there. Yeah, right here it is. It's still there. Come on, E-Cam. Are you doing it to me again? Don't tell me. Alright? Fucking E. Why is it black? Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I don't know. Guys, I spent a lot of time today grabbing videos and stuff, and don't tell me we're not going to be able to play them. It's very irritating. Where's the goddamn Huffington Post? Here it is. Alright, so I guess everything's going to be slow as far as the bells and whistles are concerned of ECAM. Yeah, flurry of mega firms bow down to Don. Why? What's wrong with you people? They've already, and of course, the judge rules that the Columbia University activists can be deported. And we heard in this cabinet, Trump's cabinet of freaks and curiosities met yesterday, and it was completely embarrassing. That's why when I saw JD in the chat, I thought, wow, it's almost like you don't want to show your face as an American to someone who doesn't live here in this shit show. It's an embarrassment to watch these people lick the con man's ass. But all of these law firms, 5 more law firms have struck deals with the con man to avoid punitive executive orders against them, which is, can't be legal for F's sake. And if not, it's at least unethical. And all they had to do was stick together, That's all they had to do was band together and not obey in advance, but stick together. That's how you win against a freak like the baboon. That's how you win. You don't cave to a con man and a lifelong criminal. So, I don't know. I'm just little Tarabuster over here. It seems pretty obvious to me. But, yeah, and the thing is, these are rich people. They're already rich. What are you afraid of? You know, you're going to come out looking better on the right side of history? Is that what you're afraid of? Because, trust me, you're not going to age well. This shit isn't going to age well. Just like all of the conservatives, and that's another article I'm writing right now for the Political Voices Network about how every time a country falls to authoritarians, it does so with the help of conservatives. That is the truth. Look at the history of the Nazis, right? Rolling over Europe. Everywhere they went, the conservatives opened the doors. They did. The Vichy French government was the government of conservatives. The conservative French, who basically would rather have an authoritarian dictatorship, if it were so-called conservative, than an uppity labor movement or unions and things like that. That's what they were really afraid of. It's why they made that. It's why Hindenburg appointed Hitler to be the chancellor in the first place. They made a devil's bargain with that scumbag. Come on. What's going on now with the stream? I can't deal with it. Can't deal with the stream problems. Is it jumpy on it for you guys? I'm getting the yellow bar, of course, YouTube saying I don't have enough data to maintain the stream. Let's hope it doesn't crap out on us as it did last week, right? What the fuck is going on Fridays on YouTube? Right? Come on, man. Hopefully it'll clear up. There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. We'll see. See what happens. If it craps out, we'll have to start over. I guess I'll just restart and give the damn thing a kick. So yeah, as JD and Errol are talking in the chat, hope you're stocking up on rice and beans. Yeah. And other things. I mean, so here's the thing. Where do I begin? Oh, well, I guess let's see if I can play a video first. One of the videos I grabbed. Because that'll kick us off to, into the topic, which is watching this place, the land of the free, turn into North effing Korea. It's pretty distressing. And just like I was just saying about not just the law firms, but Marco Rubio, the so-called Secretary of State, kicking out, and the judge ruling that this Columbia University activist can be deported because he doesn't like something. I don't know. He was protesting. Yeah, Columbia University grad student can be kicked out of the U.S. as a national security risk. An immigration judge in Louisiana, of course, right? Found on Friday at a hearing over the legality of deporting an activist who participated in a pro-Palestinian demonstration. Now, if he was at a Trump-Renzi Nuremberg rally, do you think they would have went after him, even though he's expressing a political opinion? Of course not. It's the right political opinion. It's the political opinion they want you to have. So, I guess America. When I heard Marco Rubio say, when you invite somebody in your home, I wouldn't invite someone in my home and then they make a mess of the place, and I kick them out. Same thing here. We invite someone here. We allow them to get an education. And, then they're making a mess of a place. They're acting like lunatics. This is a lunatic who has a different opinion than the Trumpanzees. And I guess America really is that small. And that's what I was thinking when I was watching Marco Rubio say, you know, how we're going to kick out students when they protest against their policies, I suppose, against Trumpanzee policies. And I thought, how small, right? America's that tiny and fragile now, like every other authoritarian state. That's the thing. That's why Trump wants a military parade. It's the height of fragility. Strong nations don't need a military parade. Strong people don't go around flexing their muscles. And you would think that the land of the free, the home of the brave, this First Amendment, right? I thought these free speech absolutists were all over the Republican Party. But they're too fragile to actually embrace freedom and democracy. It should extend to everyone, of course, who's in our borders, who's here. But they're too small. They're too weak. They can't stand up to a student writing an article that they don't agree with. Their ideology is that small, right? It's like it just can get knocked over with a feather. These fragile little freaks. Because you think it stops at someone who has a student visa. I mean, think again. That's the point. You know, this is creeping fascism, and it's not really creeping. It's walking at a steady pace now. But they're freaks. They're disgraceful. And I've said for years, and every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism. And here's another example. They don't like America. They don't like democracy. Our Constitution is simply too much for them. And they'll wave the flag all while tearing it down, tearing us apart, tearing everything that this country, that actually makes this country great, tearing that apart for greed. So they can steal more easily. And the only thing you have to do to be invited to the smash and grab is lick a criminal con man's ass. Is praise the criminal con man, the lifelong convicted felon. Well, not the lifelong con man, convicted felon, tax cheating, draft dodging, serial bankrupt asshole who is such a fragile little bitch. He played his own publicity agent, calling up the different reporters in New York. Thank God that reporter recorded it, you know, as he called up different reporters as John Barron to brag that Madonna wanted to date him. This is who the fuck we're dealing with. And it's a disgrace, right? So when I saw that cabinet of freaks and curiosities, I said, man, how embarrassing. I don't know. How did you feel? Because I was really embarrassed to be an American. And I had that feeling again. I had that thought. I got to get the fuck out of here. Where is this going? And same thought I had when I looked at the headline at the Huffington Post and saw even more law firms are capitulating to this dirtbag. How dare they? Scum of the earth, and they will not age well. That's it. You know, just like the conservatives who opened the door for Hitler. They don't age well in history's light. That's for sure. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Quisling. Who? Let's see. Because I have some notes from my article. Hold on. We'll be right back. All right. Let me see if I can play this video, actually. That's what happens when people don't become a patron at patreon.com/Tara shit just goes nuts. Videos don't play. Things crap out. The stream craps out. Where am I? Where is it? Oh, here we go. I hope it can play. God damn it.
Your leadership,
Oh, good.
you're going to revitalize and make shipbuilding and maritime great again.
At the Trump EPA, we're going to make you proud.
The honor and respect we have for each other is a reflection of you and your leadership.
Thanks to your leadership.
You were overwhelmingly elected.
No, you
by
weren't.
The biggest majority.
No,
Mr. President,
bitch.
thank you for your leadership at the border.
Thanks to your fantastic leadership.
So the American worker is grateful. Main Street is grateful for you.
You pigs. What a bunch of disgusting wastes of human DNA. I don't know how they could sit there without a spine. How? I don't know. It's the mass delusion that is so baffling to me. These are all grown-ass adults. And, Marco Rubio, he was supposed to be the normal one. But they're all equally awful. And lying right to this con man's face. And let me remind everyone that this is not normal. Not just the going around the room and a cabinet meeting is all of the cabinet appointees licking the president's ass. That's not normal. Cabinet meetings are not usually recorded for the press or televised. Sometimes they'll have, this is our first cabinet meeting, and they'll take questions from the press, and then the press leaves, and the officers of the agencies and the president, they get down to the business of governing and taking care of the American people. So this is not normal. This is a pantomime of governing while they smash and grab. This is North Korea. Right out of North Korea. How dare they? And another thing we're going to talk about tonight is, of course, right on cue. I guess it never stopped, but the corporate media has got to check in with the Trumpanzees. When do they ever check in with Democrats, except when they're kicking down on Democrats? When they check in, have they even when they were going after Biden, he's too old and all that. Every other hour, not every hour on the hour. It was the Biden is too old, and then there was a poll about how old he was and how everyone thinks that Republicans are better for the economy when they're not, and repeat, rinse, repeat. And I mean, how many corporate media mouthpieces pointed out the fact when they played the cabinet meeting? Did any of them point out the fact that that's not normal? And when they check in with the Trumpanzees, does any of them dare present them with the moral question of, now you're feeling it? Now you think maybe you regret your vote? Not all of them. There's another article in the Washington Post about how the cultists are going along for the ride because they trust the con man. This is such a failure of every pillar of democracy, of every institution that was supposed to protect the grand experiment in liberal democracy. All of it. When you put it all together, this country is supposed to it's supposed to be the antidote to everything that the Republicans are putting together. A nation where the rich run and rule and everyone else compliantly and quietly awaits their rewards in heaven, begging for a trickle here and there. Hey, can you trickle on me? Maybe you'll go find a lord to serve and they'll trickle some benefits on you. If you're lucky, maybe they'll get some trickle in your mouth. I don't know. But, all of everything all of the failures that got us here, the attacks on the pillars of democracy, campaign finance, the corporate media, attacks on education. Every time a conservative came to knock us out from the knees, the American people, of course, the American people should have known better, but they can't. How could they know better if nobody's telling them? They're getting their news from right-wing propaganda outlets that have to pay fines for lying to them, and other influencers literally funded by the Kremlin. Why isn't that on there? And then you get the Democrats, like when I saw Gretchen Whitmer, she gave a speech, and then she went to she went to the Oval Office. She was standing there with Trump. Like, what the fuck is going on in here? I don't know if you guys remember, like, for a hot minute, they were presenting her as a possible presidential candidate or VP candidate. Remember that? Gretchen Whitmer. That's what we have to deal with here in America. That is what passes as journalism here. Are you going to run for president? You think she can run for president? Who's going to be president? You going to run for president? That's the extent of journalism. Jesus Christ on a bike. How are we going to recover from this? How? How are we ever going to get through this? Well, let me start, I guess, with the article I wrote over at Substack about conservative, compromises. And if you're not, a subscriber, please subscribe. I don't know how many times I gotta beg, but all right. So political voices, that's fine. You do what you want. Do what you want. Where is it? So, Political Voices, Substack. Where's my article? Interesting. I don't see it. There's the older ones. Let me figure this out here. Isn't that weird? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? It was restacked many times. All right, here we go. So on April 9th, 1865, this is a little bit of a history lesson too. So I hope you are into that. I love history, and I think, we should learn from it. And when I learn more about history in general, it does make me weep for this country. But 160 years ago, and 2 days, Robert E. Lee, a traitor who waged war against the United States, who sent hundreds of thousands of Americans to their cold early graves for the cause, quote unquote, of keeping human beings in bondage, who shamefully betrayed his oath to the Constitution, was asked not to be a traitor anymore and allowed to simply walk away. So thus we have another episode in the long American tradition of letting traitors to the American experiment off the hook. Wait, hold on. Off the hook with a slap on the wrist. Lee's traitor officers were permitted to keep their sidearms, horses, and personal property. The Confederate enlisted traitors were allowed to simply return home without facing imprisonment or any other form of punishment, for that matter, provided they agreed never to commit treason again against the United States. Like many of the progressives of his day and our own, Grant believed that going easy on the conservatives would foster a spirit of reconciliation and heal the nation. He famously remarked that the rebels are our countrymen again. And even, this is irritating, and 100% true, he even went so far to discourage celebrations within his own, within the ranks of the Union of the United States Army. Discourage celebrations lest the poor, defeated traitors feel bad and humiliated. You don't want to rub it in. You don't want to rub in that they sent 500,000 Americans to their cold early graves for the cause of human bondage. You don't want to do that. Don't want to embarrass them. Isn't that fucked up? I mean, this is the fuck your feelings crowd, too. Back, 1860s, F your feelings crowd. And frankly, I'm just paraphrasing, but Lee was surprised at the leniency. Of course, it would only have been a one-way street if the shoe was on the other foot. That's for sure. If the Confederacy had won, you think the same magnanimous, understanding would have been afforded, or the Union Army? Absolutely not. So, that's what, it's true. Lee was surprised that he was being shown such, such leniency. Incredible. And he played along. He told the defeated everyone, his army, he told the traitors that they should be good, that they should obey the law and become good citizens. But as we know how that turned out, because as soon as they could, as soon as the opportunity afforded them, they organized themselves into domestic terrorist groups. And, the KKK, they, and to ensure that our freed American brothers and sisters wouldn't get too uppity, thinking that they could participate in the future, shaping the future of their communities. And what a sin. So, instead of a prison cell that Lee rightly deserved, and Americans deserved, the faithful, patriotic Americans deserved to watch Lee get slapped with shackles and dragged to Leavenworth to face justice for his crimes. Right? Because the American people had to, it's not like the war was over and, all right, let's just all go home. They had to live with the wounds of war. And also the losing loved ones and whatnot. The grief. Losing limbs. The PTSD. The addictions that came out of the Civil War. All because these white bastards wanted to keep their human property. It's disgusting. And Grant let them walk away. And you know what's so disgusting too? In Grant's tomb, there's a portrait, or not a portrait, I guess it's a painting, or whatever it is, a big mural of Lee's surrender at Appomattox in Grant's final resting place. And I guess you wouldn't be surprised to know that in Lee's final resting place, there's no portrait. There's no mention of Grant. There's no portrait of the capitulation, of the surrender, right? But that goes to show you this whole thing that it's always a one-way street. Coddling conservatives who they lack the ability to function in a free democratic society. They can only take it so far. They can only take freedom to a point. Freedom for thee, for me, not for thee. That's what they can take. They can only take e pluribus unum if that means them alone and them and theirs. They can't accept e pluribus unum in a nation of immigrants. It's too many. It's too much. That's too woke. That's too diverse. So, Lee deserved Leavenworth. Instead of facing justice for his actions, though, he was granted a level of respect, and this is what happened. So he was able to, this level of respect and reverence enabled the Southern traders to whitewash the reality of their crimes, as we know. Because we've been living in the country that we're living in the aftermath of it, where the Southern traders got to rewrite history of a lost cause, a noble cause, right? Where they were fighting not for slavery, not for human bondage, but for states' rights and their heritage. The lost cause, this noble, isn't it more, it's just so much more noble to fight for something like that. It's all bullshit. Of course, when they talk about states' rights, it's the state's right to own other human beings. But they teach that in the South, though, right? I guess now even more, since teaching the actual history of the United States is DEI. It's too woke. It's too much. It's too much e pluribus unum. So instead of the noose and the unmarked traitor's gravely deserved, he was treated like a fallen gentleman, right? He was allowed to ride off into the myth of a noble warrior rather than the treasonous butcher that he was, fighting to uphold this repugnant system of oppression and exploitation. It's unfathomable. But he wasn't the only traitor to face little or no consequences, not just the general of the traitor army, but the president and the vice president of the traitors, Jefferson Davis and Alexander Stephens, got nothing but slaps on the wrist. Jefferson Davis he went to jail. He got imprisoned. He was in prison for 2 years. But then he was released. He was never tried for treason, and he received a pardon for his fucking treason in 1868. I mean, come on. The blood was probably still staining the boots of many of our fellow Americans who fought against these traitors. But, you know, he got a pardon. We got a lot of we pardoned a lot of traitors in this country, don't we? So, similarly, Alexander Stephens, he was a disgusting waste of human DNA, and despite his being the Confederate vice president, he was also a true believer. He wrote the abhorrent Cornerstone speech that basically, well, what did it say? And it's a disgusting piece of whatever. It's the biggest brain fart any racist ever, well, not ever, because there's so many of these now, right? But so whenever any Republican talks about heritage or states' rights, just point them to the Cornerstone speech, where Alexander Stephens says, the great cornerstone on which we have built our civilization, the foundation, our new government, here it is, here's the exact quote, our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite idea. And he's talking about the opposite idea of e pluribus unum. You know, it's such a, he calls it, that's the sandy foundation of equality, right? So, and that's a sentiment that it's like, it's woke. It's too woke, and it's catching on in the North, and there's too many people believe in it. And he proudly writes that our government, our new government, is founded on the exact opposite idea. Its foundations are laid. Its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man. That's your foundation? That's your cornerstone. Your cornerstone is shit. That's your heritage. That's the heritage that flew in the flag that flew in our Capitol on January 6th that these traitors dragged in there. That is what they were flying the flag of. Yes, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. Our new government. This is a first in the history of the world. Well, aren't you so fucking special? Based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. It's moral. Because they say it is. It's like, this is like what we are dealing with now, the gaslighting. Well, it's moral. It's a witch hunt. It's like nobody's ever seen. You're the greatest ever to squat in the White House. Just ask anyone around this cabinet table. The greatest numbers, the biggest win ever, despite the facts. It's a witch hunt, witch hunt, witch hunt, despite the facts. No collusion, despite the fact. I mean, I can't fucking take it. Right? I can't. It's a disgrace to everyone who ever gave their life. That's what pisses me off the most when I watch these cowards capitulate. They should be ashamed. What they're doing, they're spitting on the graves of everyone who ever stood up to fascism, to the traitors, to the racists, to the people like they are, to the Confederate assholes. Who, it's just a heritage. It's our heritage. So, after the war, Alexander Stevens, who wrote the disgusting Cornerstone speech, went on speaking tours. He was allowed to just go on tour, take his racist ideals on tour. I mean, think about this. These fuckers are traitors. No accountability, though. Hold on. Really, no wonder we're here. And this is kind of why, not kind of why, but this is why I wrote this article and I'm reading it. This is why we're in this boat now. We have to know our history. But we have to also understand, I know we do, but I think that the American people, we have to be unapologetic about crushing the white supremacy strain, the racist strain, the traitorous strain in our, just allowed to run free in our body politic. So Alexander Stevens went on speaking tours to spew his toxic beliefs, and wait for it, he was also allowed to run for Congress, and he won. So he served in the House of Representatives from 1873 to 1882. The traitorous vice president of the Confederacy. A traitor. I know I can't say that word enough. It's unfathomable. Just like the con man is now the convicted felon, the traitor who called up the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, I want you to find me the votes. The one who embarrassed us on the world stage when he licked Putin's ass, took his word over 18 intelligence agencies. I don't know why he would lie. Why would he try to get me elected? I don't know why. I believe him. I believe Putin. So with no compromises, with no consequences. Wait, hold on. Astonishing. Okay, yes, he was allowed to go back to the. He was allowed to serve, I guess, himself in the House of Representatives. You think he had seen the light? You think he was a voice of reason in the House? Could you imagine? Okay, this is just like the Capitol Police officers who are suffering PTSD even more profoundly, because our fellow Americans, 71 million of them, voted for this traitor. These people saw the traitors storm the Capitol and beat the cops and everything that they went through that day. And they voted for this, they voted for this freak, for this convicted felon, convicted rapist. And it must have felt similarly as the people who lived in the 1860s and 70s watching Alexander Stevens in the House of Representatives. You know, while they were healing or grieving their loved ones, while they were struggling to heal from the wounds of war, from because of these traitors that the traitors chose to wage against our government, that their grandparents, that's the other thing. These are people that were closer to the American Revolution. Many of the Civil War traitors, their own grandparents had fought in the Revolution. But I guess they didn't instill in them an understanding about what this thing is supposed to be about because they're too racist. And that's what it is. Into those racist dark crevices, those cracks, that's where they hook these people. And we can't have a functioning democratic republic, nation of laws, nation of immigrants that promotes the general welfare over the welfare of white landowners with all this racism. It has to be confronted. It has to be actively, we have to actively try to heal. And you don't heal from it by eliminating every attempt to heal from it. I hate these people. God, that's what they everything that is everything is trying to rectify our racist history or try to make some kind of truth and reconciliation. That everything is that's the problem, right? Not the attempt to do something about it is the problem, according to conservatives. So, with no consequences or accountability, of course, what do we expect? The South rose again. And the same people, within years, the same traders who had fought for slavery were writing so-called black codes. And the black codes were a series of laws that were passed in the South in the wake of emancipation. Although, and stop me when this sounds familiar, although they professed to respect the equality and civil rights of the newly emancipated, in reality, the black codes were specifically designed to curtail the economic, the political, and social freedom of African Americans through a combination of efforts, including private and public efforts, restoring much of the slave system that had existed prior to the war. Their passage inflamed, guess what, Republicans in Congress. Because at the time, the Republicans were the progressives. And, they were the abolitionists. The Republican Party was founded as a progressive antidote to the entrenched Democratic Party of its day. The roles have been reversed, essentially, at this point. It's very difficult for conservatives to get that because they only think in black and white, I've noticed, in general. Because a lot of times I'll hear or I'll get a message from a right-winger in general. They'll say, well, the Democrats were the Republicans freed the slaves and the Democrats were the slave owners. And it's like, okay, it doesn't matter what something is called. It matters what is that something does, that something is, And if you have to go back to the 1860s for the last time you were progressive in general, then or just not racist, that's a pretty sad state of affairs. And, they're very different. It's very difficult because, and the example I use is, if I hand you an ice cream cone with dog shit on it and call it chocolate ice cream, go to town. Tell me how it tastes, because it doesn't matter what something is, it just matters what you call it, right? So anyway, not to go off on that tangent. So and then of course they formed the KKK and they lynched freedmen. This was a domestic terrorist organization that lynched our fellow Americans who happen to have darker pigment, who also weren't sufficiently subservient in their oppression. And by 1877, the federal government abandoned Reconstruction entirely, leaving Black Americans to suffer under Jim Crow for another century. And then in this article on the Political Voices Substack, let's just go through all of the compromises that America, that brought us to this place right now. So lack of consequences meant that everyone who sacrificed to hold the Union together to overthrow slavery was in fact the sacrifices were in vain, because we didn't defeat the Confederacy. Ultimately, we let it regroup. That's what happened. When you have to just cross your heart and hope to die, I swear, I'll be a good boy. And you can go right back to doing everything that you did except, on paper, the technicality that people were emancipated was of little consequence. They had no opportunities to have a seat at the table. They were suppressed, and anytime they tried to form their own communities, they were terrorized. There were, as we know, there's histories of Black Wall Street and whatnot being wiped out by these monsters. So, okay, America, a nation that compromises with the worst impulses in the human experience, that's America, rather than crushing them without apology. I don't know. I wonder if that's a human thing in general, because it's hard, right? But we should understand, and we should teach our children and each other that democracies are not a given. That they need to be cultivated. They need to be maintained and cherished and constantly protected by the forces of evil like this shit. Okay. Hold on, here comes the music. We'll get to the compromises of... This is a good history lesson, I think. A lot of people don't know this history. I'm not sure if... it's not your fault if you don't know. I'm glad you're here. So, okay, 1820, the Missouri Compromise. These are all the compromises that led to the Civil War. In 1820, the Missouri Compromise pretended that slavery could be balanced. Free state, slave state. So, congressional cowardice is not a contemporary affliction. Instead of confronting the moral abomination of slavery head on, and really the founders did that to us because they knew that if they didn't do something about slavery, it was going to come back and bite us in the ass. And it did, of course. So the 16th United States Congress drew an imaginary line around the nation and declared that slavery can only exist in designated areas. The message was clear. Basic humanity and suffering of Black Americans were the sacrifices that the white power structure was willing to make. And they did this to appease the wealthy white landowners in the South who were always threatening to secede. Well, at this point, you know how I feel a lot of times. I'm like, just secede. Do it now, please. We're not going to stop you. But I know that there are a lot of normal people in the South now, of course, just like maggots. And, the thing is, this is the other problem with the Democrats capitulating, like Gretchen Whitmer and others who are, Chuck Schumer and all that. We should be going into every single state and unapologetically trying to reach the maggots who have been, they're completely propagandized. We have the truth on our side. We have the facts, reality. And what do they have? Hate? Hating trans people? That's all. Instead of trying to talk reason. See, this is what annoyed me about Biden, too, and the Democrats in general, how they seem to have a more vested interest in rehabbing the Republican brand than the Republicans themselves. Yes, and Jim on the chat says Bernie and AOC are the only ones doing that, and thank goodness they're doing it. But the Democratic, the entire Democratic Party structure should be doing that. Instead, once again, it's a Democrat, a corporate Democrat especially. They never fail to learn the wrong lesson. And the lesson is always the same. Be more like Republicans. But why? Republicans suck. They don't do shit for the American people. Every time the Republicans get in office, it's the cycle, and that's another article. That'll be next, that article. I got a lot of articles in the queue. Some of them, like I told you, the Nazi owners who own J.D. Vance and Trump. That's going up there soon. And another article about how can we finally put it to rest. That'll probably go up over the weekend. Can we finally put it to rest that Republicans are good for the economy? And I lay it out. So, and I hope people get some use out of these. Because these are just, I'm not writing a 10-page dissertation on every compromise, so to speak, but it's laid out, and I think it will help people get the knowledge or get the facts so they can take it to their Trumpanzy friends, if they have any. So, okay. Then so the Compromise of 1850 was about, excuse me, wrong one. 1820 was making sure that, or cutting slave states and free states, or making a line around this certain areas. Okay, you'll be a free state, you'll be a slave state. Okay, then the Compromise of 1850 enforced slavery with federal troops via the Fugitive Slave Act. So this was pretty much, I think, as far as the compromises are concerned, this is pretty immoral as they come. The Compromise of 1850 legally required Northerners to hunt down human beings who had escaped their enslavement or face punishment themselves. The federal government effectively conscripted all citizens to become slave catchers, with the federal authorities acting as the enforcers in chief. And this starkly illustrates the grim truth that when we compromise with evil, we don't moderate the evil, we become it. And then we had, right before the Civil War, this was the last gasp to try to stop the South from seceding. It was called the Crittenden Compromise of 1860, where they tried to bribe the South into remaining in the Union by, guess what, guaranteeing slavery forever, that they were gonna put it in the Constitution. So we would, I wonder if that would even, could you imagine if that would even be possible? I'm sure, right? We would still be living in a slave society. And I mean, think about it. As far as history, in the light of history, 160 years since the end of the Civil War, that's a blip. That's a blink. It's a drop in the ocean. And it's not out of the realm of possibilities that we would be a slave. We were effectively, of course, we were an apartheid state. I can't say that word, so. All right. Southern states were actively seceding, even as they were actively seceding. the compromisers proposed enshrining slavery permanently in the Constitution to appease the repugnant traitors. It was the ultimate act of moral surrender, an offer to sacrifice the nation's soul permanently to make the horrible, immoral slave owners stay loyal. Yeah, and which brings me to one of the most consequential compromises in American history, and that is the Compromise of 1877. This was after the Civil War. It ended Reconstruction and handed the South back to the white supremacists. And it's heartbreaking because after the Civil War, with Reconstruction, there was actually a real racial progress developing in the South. And it was completely, of course, done by at the force of arms of federal troops, but it was working. The I think we would be a much different country if we had finished the work of Reconstruction. Instead, so the end of Reconstruction was the result of a presidential election of 1876. Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden faced off in a race so close that it resulted in widespread allegations of fraud. In a backroom deal, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party decided that Hayes would become the president in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South. So the Democrat lost. The Republican became president, and it didn't really matter because it was the end of Reconstruction. So he really lost. We lost. Humanity lost. America lost. So, but they got to be the president. Who cares? Whatever. By removing the federal troops from the South, the U.S. abandoned its commitment to protecting the rights and safety of the newly freed Americans, subjecting them to the violent terrorism of Jim Crow. And the Confederacy may have lost the war on paper, but they certainly won the peace by reestablishing the white supremacist social order in the South. That later on, years later, we know Hitler used as inspiration. That's how they wrote their Nuremberg laws, looking to the United States. Doesn't that make you proud? Oh, but we were not allowed to talk about that because that's DEI, or that might make some white fucker feel bad. Just like Grant said, don't celebrate the end of the war because the traitors might get some feels. They might feel humiliated. You don't want to humiliate traitors, do you? So which leads us to January 6th, really. So the same unwillingness to hold powerful traitors to account, like Lee, Trump walked away from having to answer for his crimes against the nation. He not only walked away, he walked right into the goddamn White House because of our fellow Americans. Disgusting. So just like the Confederates, Traitor Trump's coup plot and cronies were given a pass by the conservatives, and that started immediately. The night of the coup, they were already making excuses. And as in 1877, the system hesitated, delayed, and ultimately failed to deliver justice. And I blame Merrick the Meek, who had one job: deliver justice to Traitor Trump. If no one is above the law in America, then no one deserved to feel the full weight of the law than a pathological liar, lifelong con man who tried to overturn the will of the people and steal the election he lost. Merrick the Meek needed to make an example of him so that no future wannabe dictator would ever dare try it again. Just like Grant needed to make an example of Lee. And the rest of the at least the top executives in the Confederacy, the vice president, the president, everyone in the leadership at least should have been made an example of, not allowed to go on speaking tours and run for Congress for F's sake. So but anyway, as we know, he dawdled. Merrick the Meek was not up to the task. He fumbled, slow-walked, acted like Trump was just some white-collar fraudster rather than the existential threat to democracy that he is. And I've said this before, that we're in this boat because America has really failed to finish the work of Reconstruction. January 6th wasn't an aberration. It was the inevitable result of our 150-year failure to unapologetically protect multiracial liberal democracy that the traitor Confederates couldn't abide. When Lee was allowed to ride away unpunished, when the Reconstruction was abandoned, our 19th century forebearers weren't ending the Civil War. They were just scheduling the next insurrection. So, that's basically the end of the article. Trump's mob of traitors are the spiritual descendants of the unpunished traitors we've been coddling since 1865. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. If you think I'm off the base here or off the mark, let me know. The Confederate battle flags they carried through the Capitol weren't just symbols. They were the receipts of every compromise. I really get upset when I think about this. We will continue to be haunted by this unfinished business until we finally do what should have been done at Appomattox. Treat the traitors like traitors. Crush white supremacist movements without apology. And understand once and for all that we can't compromise with anti-democratic forces. We must root them out of our body politic without apology and courageously work to bring our diverse nation together by honoring the diversity of all our American experiences, which includes confronting our racist roots. So, yeah. And we're not going to do that. That's why Republicans stand in the way of that. And we've talked about it on the show before. And whether our American experiment is permanently over or just on pause, the last chapter hasn't been written yet. But, yeah. I mean, I'm going to cry if I read this, so, yeah. Because for the love and honor of every American who left. See? Damn it. Don't get emotional. No, I can't help it. For every American who left their last measure of devotion on the battlefield. We got to get to work. So, all right. Gets me choked up. That's why I got my little Boudica here. I need my emotional support cat. All right. Damn it. Why do I do that to myself? All right. Where shall we go from here? I mean, there's... you know what? Let's start here. Well, what time is it anyway? Let me check the time. Oh, my lordy. Thank you guys for indulging me. I know, Professor Devlin. I try. I mean, I love history. But lately, I have to say, it's been heartbreaking. Thinking and knowing of just how far we've fallen. I used to read things about the Third Reich and feel so relieved, right? About how we were living in a free country. So relieved that we were better than that. But now, look at what, I'm sure, I don't know if they showed you this over in England, JD, but the FCC chairman was wearing a Trump pin. I don't know if you saw that. I'm wondering if it'll catch on. Instead of the, the friggin' flag lapel pin that became mandatory somewhere along. I think it became mandatory when Obama was running for office because all the Republicans started wearing flag pins, just like they were carrying constitutions in their pocket constitutions every time we try to ensure that no American needlessly dies without health care, the Republicans would point to their pocket constitutions as if that was justification for letting people die. Unlike every other country on earth, they were telling us, oh, if we had universal health care, we would be like Nazis. Remember that? They would say that's the first step in taking away your freedom. That's what Hitler did. He made universal health care, which is not true. They had universal health care well before Hitler got there. And it doesn't matter, truth. What is truth, right? And so the Republicans would always point to their pocket constitutions as if they fucking read them. And they're always crying about Hitler. But here we are. Now they're Hitler. Now they got America's Hitler. Well, here's the FCC chairman who, as we know, the first chance he gets, he will undo net neutrality. It doesn't matter that we all, millions of us, fought to enshrine and to ensure that we had net neutrality. The maggots, back in the day, they were the teabaggers and just the Republican dumbasses. They keep hearing on the propaganda networks that net neutrality is against freedom, when it's the exact opposite, of course. You know, net neutrality is simply ensures that everyone has the same platform. You know, my stream is the same strength as whatever, the damn Fox News YouTube channel, if they do a live stream. But that's net neutrality. Without it, they could charge people different amounts of money for tiered service and whatnot. It's another way the corporations can grift and they're just salivating about making more money. Forget freedom. You see, that's the problem here. Republicans hate freedom. They don't want your freedom. They want your compliance, and they want to make sure you're exposed to their propaganda. So that's what this asshole's going to do. This FCC, the new FCC chairman, who is just his name is Brendan Carr, another awesome example of goddamn how fast it all falls. Look what he's wearing. Look at that pin. Right out of Mao Zedong. Chairman Mao, right? Hold on. Become a patron. Yeah. Don't these people have any honor? Right? Look at him. Don't they have any self-respect? Yeah. One Facebook user wrote, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr sports a gold Trump head lapel pin. Members of Trump's cabinet, along with Congress people, is that how you say it? Congress people? And senators are being instructed to wear a tribute to their inglorious convicted felon leader. Another day in Trump's hellscape. Emperor Trump's hellscape. Yeah, I don't know if it's an order to wear, but I think what will happen is it will catch on. Then it will suddenly, Trump will make some kind of notice of it, and he'll praise Brendan Carr, and he'll point out that the others aren't wearing it, and it will soon just kind of spread like the measles virus in the red states. And these people are disgusting. And everything that they're doing, I keep thinking about for my entire life, how all of us, I don't want to just personalize it to me, but we've all been dragged through conservative manias screaming about things like Obama's celebrity. Remember that? Oh, he's the biggest celebrity in the world. They kept going on about what a celebrity. That was something that we were all supposed to be embarrassed about, I guess, and that we were all Obama bots doing everything that Obama said. We're just cultists, Obama bot, which is never the truth, of course. It was never the truth. And again, everything that they say is either a confession or a projection. Same thing in the article I'm writing about, J.D. Vance being Peter Thiel's bitch, and Peter Thiel also funding Curtis Yarvin, who is a Nazi, and J.D. Vance saying that meeting Peter Thiel and listening to him speak, that was the most consequential moment of his life. Okay, and they're all Nazis who hate democracy. Yet the corporate media never, and the Democrats, who should be ashamed, never go on about how come J.D. Vance is palling around with Nazis. Right? Palling around. We had to hear Bill Ayers palling around. Obama's palling around with Bill Ayers, who was part of the Weather Underground at one point, 30 years prior. Not at that moment. Doesn't matter that at that moment J.D. Vance is a acolyte of Peter Thiel, who is at this moment somewhere telling people that he hates democracy, that democracy is the worst thing that ever happened to freedom. Freedom for whom? Right? Oh, we know who. Freedom for the billionaires to step on your neck. That's what they're talking about. The freedom to ride you mercilessly to the bank without pesky government saying, play nice with the plebs. That's what they're talking about. They hate the general welfare. They don't want to share their ill-gotten gains with all of us. They don't want a functioning society because they could disappear behind the walls of their gated communities. And where it's beautiful. You know, they'll live in Elysium. Well, we'll be out here fighting over the scraps. And they get people nice and stupid and divided. But through their propaganda. It's a real devil's brew that we're living in at this moment in America. And because, you know, not just with the compromising with evil, all those official compromises, but we have to, I don't know. I'm looking at the time. We have to really unapologetically get our shit together. And that's why I talk about it all the time, that what we're doing here is so important. I hope you don't get tired of me saying it. Maybe you do, but it is the truth. Nothing will happen if we don't get the message out. That's why the Democrats are so frustrating to me. If they only listen to me. Oh, that's another article I'm writing. I'm writing a lot of articles. One of the articles is how we should reclaim patriotism. And we talk about that on the show all the time. How Democrats are the real patriots. Progressives. I'm not saying all Democrats. Some of them are like Gretchen Whitmer. They're too cowardly and self-serving. Selfish. To be patriots or whatever. You know, to be... Yeah, that's what it is. When Gretchen Whitmer decided to give that speech, and she thought that was a good idea. Who's the eyeliner troll? We have a troll in the chat. But for Gretchen Whitmer, she tried to, so the stock market crashing and all this, and then Trump going back on it, and of course all the insider trading that's going on. Gretchen Whitmer gave a speech. She flew to Washington. She wanted to get the cameras on her. She thought it was the greatest opportunity to, I guess, try to position herself for her run for the presidency. I'm so sick of this shit. And she gave a speech about how, Trump is right, but he's just not doing it in the right way. This is the new line from these freaks. I'm not talking about the Republicans. The Republicans are going on about how he's playing 4D chess. But Gretchen Whitmer is saying, well, he's right. We really need to. No, we don't. I mean, what Trump is doing is he's fucking us over because he doesn't know what he's doing. I wrote another article about this at the Political Voices Substack. He's doing what he does, what he knows how to do. He's fucking shit up. He's doing it because he's a malignant narcissist, and he wants the world to bow to him. That's it. And him going on about how hundreds of world leaders are calling it, that's bullshit. No one's calling him. Maybe a couple of them, but the rest of the world is moving on. He is fucking us. The only one calling him is Putin to congratulate him and say, thanks, pal. You can get your tacky hotel in Moscow, even though you'll be a fucking corpse, because no one lives forever, bub. Right? I mean, that's never enough for these freaks. The smash and grab is real. That's what they're doing. So you could get in on the smash and grab if you were as disgusting and as unpatriotic, and if you had the devoid of decency and self-respect as Brendan Carr. Right? That's all it takes. If you were like Marco Rubio, you could do the same thing. You could be in the inner circle, insider trading. All you got to do is leave your self-respect at the door, leave your and leave the nation too. That's the other thing you're selling out. It's all on the table. Just give it right to Trump. The grand experiment, right to the serial bankrupt tax cheat, the con man, the loser who sold meat through the mail. And I have to correct myself when I say, Robyn Kincaid from headon.live says it too, he sold meat through the mail. Apparently he didn't sell any. He sold no meat through the mail. That's what happened. Trump never made a sale, according to something I was reading recently. Who the fuck's gonna buy meat through the mail with that greasy face on it? That Trump. All right, guys, this is Tara Devlin. Become a patron at patreon.com/Tara Devlin. Keep the real liberal media going and growing so we can win. Check out the Tara Show with myself and Tara Dublin on the Political Voices Network, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing what we can to get the word out, but we need your help. Subscribe to my Substack, all of that. It's all on the Political Voices Substack. We will win. We're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. We stick together, we win. I'll see you soon. It's not over yet. We got some Moore's show. One of the things I wanted to play, where is it? We got more shows. And now it's less stressful, but I'm tired. I gotta go to bed soon. We're not gonna do a marathon tonight. Sometimes I just gotta go to sleep. I wish I didn't have to sleep as much as I do, or in general. But I like sleeping. Sleeping is lovely. There's no Republicans there. I could fly. I can dance. I can sing. It's beautiful. We live in a free society. People aren't assholes. Well, some are. We just got to hold on to hope in a way. And you know what the hope is? There is a Buddhist principle, but it is, I think, a principle in general. Great. How does it go? Nichiren Daishonin. After great evil, great good follows, something like that. It does seem to be the pattern. But I thought many times Trump had seen, had been nullified for his crimes. Just think about the other thing. This effing baboon had to tank the world economy to get Signalgate off the front page. Who's talking about that now? Wonder how many chats they're having. How many WhatsApp chats or whatever else on their unclassified personal phones they're having using Signal in the Kremlin in Russia. You think in Russia, when you hook up to their Wi-Fi, they're on a unsecured personal phone, that they're not fucking downloading your entire system and everything else, every conversation you're having in live real time from that point on? This is what we're dealing with. These effing traitors. Such an embarrassment to everyone who ever died for this country. That's what pisses me off. But here's the immoral American dum-dum who fundamentally lacks, I guess, the decency to function in a free democratic society, because it's the only thing they care about is, their money. Right? Even though I'm sure they're all very Jesus-y too. Right? Their Jesus said it's easier for a rich man to get through the eye of a needle than to get into heaven. Their Jesus told them to give up all their wealth and follow him. He gave them a very simple but expressed list of instructions to follow. You don't have to make it up. He wrote it out for you. It's like boom, boom, boom. Visit people in prison. Be good to people. Right? Heal the sick. Help your neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Be kind to the stranger, for you are strangers too. When somebody offends you turn the other cheek. What do the maggots say? I hit back 10 times harder. All of these phony ass Christians. Oh, and I'm sure you saw that Trump, what did he do? Something about Christians, ending the war on Christians. Right? End the war on Christians. Because, the discrimination. There's so much discrimination against Christians. How do they stand it? They're only 75% of the population. How do they take being so picked on? But this is another hallmark of authoritarianism, of fascism. The oppressor carries the mantle of the oppressed. If you know anything about the Third Reich, about the Nazis, they were always under attack. The Jews were attacking them from all sides. The Poles attacked them. That's why they had to invade Poland. The Jews, they had to attack everyone, and then they charged the Jews for the cleanup after Kristallnacht. Oh, thank you, Josie Justice, for your super chat. Thank you for the history lessons, Professor Devlin. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Josie. That's an honor. It's an honor to have you all here. There'll be more history lessons. Now that I'm writing for Political Voices, I have to write these things down. And it's good. I like doing it. I love history. And it helps me, keep it all straight, too. So I hope it helps, too. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. Let's see. Christian discrimination. Not DEI, though. No discrimination against people who have darker pigment or trans people. They're not being discriminated against. It's the Christians. Don't you know? Oh, yes. Trump creates a task force to root out anti-Christian bias. So much bias against the Christians. How do they take it? Incredible. Oh, God, help me. I can't go down this rabbit hole because we only have a few minutes. Not a few. How many minutes we got left? What time we got? What times? We got 29 minutes. It goes by quickly, though. At least to me it does. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you do. I hope you get something out of our weekly gatherings here at Friday at 8:30ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the Tara Show, I hope you get, I know you do because you keep coming back, so thank you. At least I hope you do. All right, where the heck is it? CNN, here it is. Here it is. The first sound you're gonna hear are a bunch of bees. What the hell, Boudica? She's running around. She's doing the zoomies. Uh-oh. She might be leaving me something in the litter box.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
At Secret Garden Bees, a honey farm in Linden, North Carolina, farmer Jim Hartman has one eye on his bees and the other on his bank account.
Ideally, we'll get 100 pounds of honey per hive per year.
This is a Trumpanzee.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me. People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
Oh, well, what about okay, let me just interject. They're going to get hurt. You didn't care about the people you hurt before, though, right? This is what pisses me off. Because, they're going to get hurt. Yeah, they're going to get hurt. And trans people are going to get hurt, as usual. And people who have darker pigment are going to get hurt. Immigrants going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to get hurt. But you didn't care. Now you care that people are going to get hurt. What did you think, you stupid moron? Well, they thought other people get hurt. That's fine by me. As long as what? I don't even buy the thing that, Trump's good for the economy. I blame all of the failures of the corporate media and the press, of course, not educating these people. Let's poll them. They did it again today. I couldn't believe it. I was watching the corporate media, as I do. I sit here, I do my work, I write my articles and whatnot, and I have the TV on behind me. I'm listening to the corporate media. And they did it again, a poll. They had to poll the Trumpanzees. We always got to check in on the Trumpanzees. How you feeling? You think you got your money's worth with your vote, so to speak? You like Trump? You still like him? Doesn't matter that they're 31% of the half of the people that came out on election day voted for Trump. Yes, but that is simply 31% of the voting population. It's not a majority. He might be a majority or popular in these poorly run red states, but that's shame on them and shame on the Democratic Party for not getting the word out, for not getting the message out. The Democratic Party should be funding shows like this. For real. if they knew what's good for them. That's what do you think that goes on? I mean, don't get me going again. That's what the Republicans do. That's what the Koch brothers did. That's what the Mercer family did and does. They fund these right-wing influencers and whatnot. Now they're being funded by the Kremlin, of course, but I'm not getting any Kremlin money, and I wouldn't take it either. But they wouldn't fund me anyway because I'm not a traitor. It says it all. When you have a candidate who Russia is so happy about and wants to get elected, it's pouring all of its nefarious misdeeds into our system all over social media and making fake sites, making bots, making fake accounts to spread filthy fascist lies, promoting Trump and attacking Democrats. Won't you wake up? Right? Trumpanzees. If you want to know somebody, look at their friends. What the corporate media should be doing is pounding it into their empty skulls that why? Just ask them. Promote or pose the question. Why do you think Putin is so eager to pull out all the stops to get this Trump asshole elected? I don't know. Right? Like, they're such traitors, and everyone is enabling it. Like the whole ecosystem, the media ecosystem, the establishment ecosystem, just enabling the treason or stupidity, or enabling our fellow Americans to be useless idiots of authoritarian dictators. Now, it's another story if they're all for the authoritarian. Sure. Okay. I guess that's your right. But you don't get to turn the system that the founders fought a revolution to create and entrust to us. You don't get to turn that into an authoritarian shithole. There are supposed to be stopgaps in our Constitution to prevent that, but they all failed us this time because of the weakness and the complicity, the traitors that run rampant in the Republican Party. You know that the whole bullshit with the tariffs, all of this baboon playing with our world, inflicting this asshole who bankrupted a casino, who bankrupted his trust fund 6 times, the tax cheat who declared more losses than every other American taxpayer, that baboon. You know that, oh shit, hold on, I'm losing it. I'm losing you. You know that that asshole, the corporate media should be pointing all of that out. That guy has no business running an economy. The world economy is dependent on a baboon that bankrupted a casino? And no one wants to wake these Trumpanzees up from their spell. To our utter shame and definitely our destruction. She's just sitting there, what do you think is the tariffs? Well,
Trump, that things were going to cost you more and you're going to lose money?
Wait, let me rewind that a little.
Think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you're going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
Jim,
I never thought I was... Did you think you were going to lose money when you voted for Trump? Shame on you for voting for him. I didn't think I was going to lose this money. I thought that everybody else was going to lose. Not just money, but dignity, freedom. Maybe they would lose their lives by unaliving themselves, since these baboons were stopping their medical treatment and whatnot. But I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to ensure that a baboon, a convicted felon rapist, got into the Oval Office because I'm small and I can never vote for a woman, a competent woman, over a convicted felon, convicted rapist who bankrupted his trust fund 6 times and had to be put on an allowance by the banks because he was such a bad risk. He wouldn't pay back his friggin' loans and had to go to Russia to get loans, and that's how he got in bed with the oligarchs who promised him the moon, and now he's a fucking Russian agent who hates America and is making us the world pariah. But yeah, I wanted to vote for that thing because I guess he's just as ugly and small and racist as I am, and I can't function in a free democratic society. You see, that's too much. I didn't like that trans people had freedom. You know, like I got the freedom to live my authentic life, but I just wanted to stick my big fat nose into somebody else's business. I had no business being in their business, but there I was, and now I'm feeling the pinch financially. Shame on these people. This is like all that matters. No wonder we can't, we're less than 250 years old and we're on the balls of our ass, hanging by a thread. How are we ever going to recover if people don't learn a lesson? They don't get slapped legally and peacefully, metaphorically, into consciousness. How, like this lady is, I know it's hard to have tough conversations with people, but she should tell this dude, shame on you. You should be embarrassed. Oh, you voted for him because you thought, what? What did you want? What was the payoff? It didn't matter that he called Mexicans rapists? Did you believe that? Or do you not care that he's a racist? And tickling those racist funny bones is the oldest trick in every authoritarian playbook. Are you that stupid? Or are you that, cynical? Do you not care? Which is it? Are you a Christian? You call yourself a Christian too? Oh, you think you're a Christian, but you don't like trans people. You don't like gay people. That's it. You bought the bullshit. You didn't buy the expressed and explicit written instructions of the Savior you pretend to worship, but you bought the revamp, the 2.0, the Republican Jesus. Build a wall, not feed the sick. Fuck the sick. Fuck the elderly. Go die. We got money to be robbed from them. Dignity, decency. I mean, everything that they're doing is so disgusting. And how dare you, lady reporter, ride this stupid cart with this guy and be like, yeah, money. I didn't think I'd lose this much this fast. This much. Well, you were cool with losing money. Joe Biden left you an economy that was the envy of the Western world. You baboons. You Trumpanzees. Oh, but the eggs. Eggs were $2 a dozen. Who can afford it? Well, enjoy the $11 a fucking dozen. He doesn't give a shit. He even said it. They caught this fucking orange turd on a hot mic congratulating all the billionaires for insider trading when he sent out the bat signal for their fucking greedy gullets. So disgusting, right? Greed. How long have I been saying that? Greed is the only American value. That's it. I would be gone, If I had kids, I would leave in a fucking heartbeat. If I was a young person with kids, who wants to raise a child here? In this kiss-up, kick-down hellscape where baboons run free, Trumpanzees swing from the trees, and justify every move they make where people don't have the decency to give a shit about their fellow Americans? I mean, how dare they? Oh, did you think you'd lose your money? How about your decency? How about your dignity? Your democracy? How about that? Didn't matter. You saw the traitors beating cops, but you voted for the coup plotter anyway. The one who called the Secretary of State of Georgia and say, I need you to find me the votes to win. That's okay. And she's sitting there normalizing that. That's what I see when I watch a piece like this. I see the end of the country. I see, oh, of course, this is why. You know, a republic, if you can keep it. Yeah, I don't like black people. I like my bees. I didn't think I'd lose a lot of money. I don't like trans people. I'm big on Jesus, though. Even though if Jesus was here, he'd hang out with trans people. That's for sure. He wouldn't be hanging out with you. Because you might crucify him again. You'd try to.
Is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
What other option? That's the other thing that pissed me off. What other options? Not voting for Harris? What, a third party, you dumb fuck? Or not vote at all? Because I hate these people, legally and peacefully. This is our failure. Every time we allowed the Republicans, Reagan, Bill Clinton, to whittle away at the pillars of democracy. Yeah, I know Clinton's a Democrat, but he signed the Telecommunications Act. And during that time, all of that kiss up, kick down time, where they were going after the New Deal, those were the new Democrats. Right? They wanted to be the party of Wall Street and Main Street, not just the party of the people. They wanted to be the party of of Wall Street too. Like the Republicans, they were going to go and lick some money wherever they could lick it, because it's never enough. I mean, God. Money and politics is the root of all this evil, of course. We could be free of this tomorrow if we got money out of politics. That effing con man he would never have even come down the goddamn escalator. Because, he got the greatest grift. He's the most disgusting, rapacious ghost of the Gilded Age. Ghoul you could ever... You could never dream up, if you were trying to dream up an evil for all the goddamn nightmares that we face. You would never dream it up. But yeah, your money? Did your money hurt? How about you? Everything? I mean, am I wrong here? Because it makes me sick. I want to bang my head against the wall when I see shit like this, because that's all they're saying. Everywhere. Oh, the money. Everybody's losing their money. Yeah, and that sucks, but we didn't have to be here. Yeah, and come on. It's immorality. That's why we're here. The immorality. All of these people should not be let off the hook. Not only did we tell you so, but what's wrong with you? Don't you see? Did you not see the fascism? Did you not see the division? Did you not hear the lies? Only I could fix it? Coming down an escalator calling Mexicans rapists and saying only I can fix it. Every patriotic American should have said no thank you. And every patriotic American did. So don't call yourself a patriot and wave those flags in my face when you have no idea what the flag is supposed to stand for. It doesn't stand for USA, USA, drowning out the truth. Because you can't handle functioning in a free society, a nation of immigrants. You can't stand e pluribus unum. How dare you all? I hope it hurts, you know? Because maybe that's what it takes for these people to wake up. But not all. You'll see. You'll see.
Among other things, Jim imports packaging supplies for his honey, so he's paying real close attention to the tariffs Trump just put in place.
We just bought our year's supply of bottles from Taiwan and our year's supply of corks from Portugal about 3 weeks ago. So that would have been, another $5,000 or $6,000 out of my pocket.
Which is partly why he's repairing instead of replacing this 40-year-old forklift.
The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof to buy anything like that because it just would be cost prohibitive.
He's also holding off on improvements around the farm.
Well, we're not going to hire any more people, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's how recessions
It's more than
start.
just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to the federal government, which then provides it to schools and food banks. But after Donald Trump took office,
Schools.
the USDA cut those
Doing
programs
away with
suddenly
all
as
that.
part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
For a lot of other
Scums.
local farmers
These
around here, it was a
scums.
major source of reliable revenue. For me,
well, that's
it's going to cost me
socialism.
around $150,000 a year.
$150,000.
Yeah,
That's
roughly
all
50%
that
of my
matters.
revenue.
That's a huge hit.
That's a massive hit.
But I
Not
couldn't
far
vote for
from
that
Jim's
competent
farm, we
woman,
found other
could I?
Trump supporters who give the president high marks on tariffs.
How do you feel about the tariffs?
Well, I feel like for years we've been getting ripped off, and why not make it fair? Zero,
Make it
zero.
fair. Yeah, dummy.
And
Except you don't do it like a baboon. You don't shit in your hand and then wipe it all over the walls and call it a masterpiece. But he's okay. He's got his socialist security. He's got his. Right? Yeah, why not make it fair? Well, if you wanted to make it fair, why did you vote Republican? First of all, I'm not saying that the Democrats are completely innocent here either. But at every turn, the Republicans screwed us when it comes to trade. So, but that's that's just the truth. I mean, we got Fox News to fix it. And Trump, he's going to fix it because he cares all about America. That's why he did all of his tacky hats and shit and oversized flags and all that Let's Go Brandon crap. All of that made in China. He was such an American hero.
I think Trump was upfront about it. He said we're going to hurt some now.
I think some of the countries they're already starting to
Look at all these
come
morons.
around.
Come
It's gonna be good.
around.
I really believe that.
It's
You have
gonna
faith in
be
Trump?
good.
Yes, I do.
We all gonna be good. So when you do something like a baboon and you just throw your shit against the wall, but you have no plan, you don't do it like someone who knows what they're doing. You just go, whip, there goes the rug, and everybody on their ass. And everybody's just gonna have to catch up because don't worry, the billionaires are fine. Oh shit! I almost knocked my mouse off the table.
I think he's doing the right thing. In order for us to get back where we need to be,
Really?
he needs to get the money somewhere, and they're
Get
charging
the
us.
money. They're charging us. Hey, asshole! Again, these people don't know how tariffs work. They are charging us. As we know, all of those tariffs he put on, I guess all those factories are going up right now, right? All those American factories that make everything that these idiots need for their small businesses to survive. Like, there must be a cork factory going up in America right now, right? And the parts for your truck and all that, isn't that going up right now as we speak? Because of the 140% tariffs. You don't do it like a dumbass. And the thing is, you understand. We live in a small world now. But things have changed, and you have to go about things like you know what you're doing. But that's why we have measles outbreaks, and America is a pariah. In less than 100 days, he has turned us into the world's pariah. Then, and it doesn't matter if he goes back on the tariffs like he has. And the only reason, let me explain, not that I'm an economist, but I have read a few things. He did it because of the bond rating. There's a bond sell-off, and America is basically the world's currency. And when our bond rating goes lower and costs less, basically what is happening is he's sending us into a depression. That's why he did it. And actually, I have somebody else who knows more than me explaining it. Let me see. Where is it? Beep, bop, bop. Or maybe I don't. Oh, here it goes. Here we go.
It's great to be here.
Around the table.
Around the table.
You're saying that now?
Good opening line. Thank you. Trump even admitted that it wasn't the art of the deal or be cool. He said he was watching the bond market, and that's what decided this. He had to cave. I think CNBC's Steve Leisman, he said he didn't just flinch, he ducked. There are trillions still lost, and our very own Charlie Gasparino has been on for the last couple of hours saying that he wished it weren't so, but that the truth is that the White House capitulated. We still have tons of tariffs on, even our closest trading partners. They still don't make any sense. There's a lack of clarity on the specifics for Mexico and Canada.
What's going on? We got, what happened to Govan 00? He I don't know what he's talking about. I'm gaslit. It's no genocide. What genocide? What are we talking about? Anyway, did I say anything about a genocide? It doesn't matter. The show's almost over. And it's fine. Nice to see you. 00 Govan. All right. So, Trump and the Republicans talking about the manufacturing. This is why it's they're so full of shit. The decline of American manufacturing is, of course, not just the Republican Party's fault. The Democrats helped. Bill Clinton signed the NAFTA, right? The free trade agreements and whatnot, and helped send jobs overseas. And if you this is the other thing, like they want to bring manufacturing home. What are these going to be? Jobs that you can have a decent middle class life with, or are they trying to make us compete with China by turning the American worker into a low paid wage slave? And I bet on the latter, because Republican administrations, for the most part, it's not because Democrats have been better on this, and the Republicans have been absolutely abhorrent. The Democrats have been better, although not perfect, as far as free trade. Republican administrations, if they were truly pro-manufacturing, they wouldn't, for one thing, be trying to overturn Biden's Infrastructure Act and the Chips and Science Act, which is actually bringing manufacturing back to America, but with jobs that can't be outsourced, but with good paying jobs, right? With jobs that pay living wages. So Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, they were all free traders, and they stood in front of any attempt to help the American worker earn their, continue the American century, so to speak. They've been opposed to anything government-led. All right, let's get rid of this music here. Listen, guys, this is the end of the show officially. We're just going to wrap up after. I'm going to lower this. We will win. We're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Check out the Tara Show Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Political Voices Network at 2 p.m. with me and my friend Tara Dublin. And become a patron. Yes, I said that. And what else? Give the show a good review on iTunes. Keep coming back. Oh, shit. Fuck. I'm sorry. I hit the button and it went to like full volume. It scared the shit out of me. I'm sure it scared you too. We will win. All right. Thank you. Let's just finish up with how Republicans have fucked us with as far as manufacturing. So Republicans have opposed government-led industrial strategies that have supported domestic manufacturing. For example, they resisted measures like infrastructure spending and tax incentives for new technologies, which Democrats have argued for a long time that these are essential for revitalizing American manufacturing, like the CHIPS and Science Act. Federal programs that help manufacturers access low-cost loans, such as the Department of Energy's Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Loan Program, have faced threats of defunding from the Republicans. So anything that actually cultivates American manufacturing, Republicans have stood in front of. And I mean everything. They haven't done a fucking single thing to bring jobs back from overseas, ever. And across the board tariffs, the way he did it, that did nothing except what did it do? Tank the world economy and blow up and burn trillions overnight is not. It doesn't create jobs in America. It just turns us into a pariah state. And good night, Kathy. We're almost done. I'll see you next week, Kathy, on the Tara Show, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with me and Tara Dublin. Okay. Republicans have proposed rolling back key provisions of legislation like the Inflation Reduction Act, which has spurred jobs in America and billions in investment in clean energy, and manufacturing facilities have been created in America, and they want to roll that back. And of course, let's see how many more. There's so many bullet points here. We'll be here all night. They have frequently opposed federal investments in clean energy technology, such as electric vehicles and renewable energy infrastructure. What do you think that is, Trumpanzees? That's, as Joe Biden used to say, when I think of climate change, I think jobs, jobs, jobs. Yeah, jobs that have legs, jobs for the future, jobs that can't be outsourced, like creating a grid, an electric grid across the country, like any modern civilization would have. But, Republicans, they not only, if you're driving an electric car now, these assholes, they're such fucking Philistines, or what is not Philistines? They're Luddites. They're horrible people. Okay. They're demons. So at federal facilities where where they had put up charging stations, and they're already there. They're installed, they're plugged in. All you got to do is drive up and plug your car in. These monsters disconnected all the chargers at federal facilities. That's how much they hate America. That's how much. You got to really hate America to want to roll back progress like that. Right? Am I wrong? I wish I was wrong. So, yeah, a renewable energy infrastructure is seen as, but it's vital for the future of the United States, and it's vital for American manufacturing. Because that's what the whole world is moving on without us. They're disgusting. So that's what the Republicans are doing. All they're saying is like, we want to bring manufacturing home, or we're bringing it home, but they're doing nothing to bring it home. All they're doing is tanking the economy, tanking the world economy. So, all right. That's the end of the show for tonight. Yes. Dublin's cats don't really produce her show too much. They kind of walk in the background. Mine are producers. There they are, sleeping it off. They were tired, as I am. All right, I'm tired. Listen. I don't. You know what to do. If you're not a patron, go the hell over there and become one right now. Check out the Tara Show Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with myself and Tara Dublin at the Political Voices Network. It's in the links. What else? Blah, blah, blah. Something else I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, go to the Substack, the Political Voices Substack, and read what I'm writing. I'm spending a lot of time writing. At least I hope it contributes. So, and I hope you like it. I hope you like the work I'm doing. It's not just, what I feel is some people write, I'm not criticizing them, but writing, just saying, look at this post that Trump put up. That's one thing, and we can do that too and criticize it. But I hope I'm putting it in the context of history and kind of bringing the receipts for what we're talking about, bringing the receipts of the progressive solutions that built the middle class and will hopefully rebuild America again. I hope. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you for hanging out tonight. As always, thank you, Josie, for your super chat, and everyone else for your patronage, and for getting the word out, and for supporting the show, and for hanging out. And I have to tell you, in a couple of weeks, there will be no show on a Friday night. It's the 24th, because my niece is getting married that day. She's getting married. So, there will be no show. All right, she's getting married on Friday night. And, I don't think I'll have time to do a pre-record, but I might, maybe that Thursday. I gotta see. Maybe we'll do a pre-record on Thursday night. We'll see. All right, my loves, my sweets, my beauties. I love you. We will win. Do everything you gotta do to stay cool. As I was gonna don't go there. Don't go there. All right. I love you. Thank you, Jim, for being a moderator and everything else you do to keep the show going and growing. And everyone else, I love you. Stay cool. Stay sweet. Stay amazing. Stay strong. And I will see you very soon.